So yeah, my name is Polina, I'm area of Moscow, and right now I live in the center of Moscow. And I'm a Russian political and human rights activist. I've been engaged in activism for more than 1 year, I would say. And so I've been making some peaceful actions, and I've been engaging in actionism, and also just activism, like plastering posters and going to protests. Yeah, something like that.
And you've been heavily campaigning, protesting against Putin's illegal invasion of Ukraine. In the days and weeks leading up to the invasion, what was the media in Russia telling you? Did you have any idea that Russia was about to invade Ukraine? And yeah, what sort of impression was Putin pushing to the public?
Yeah, so we had some, I would say that we had some hints, because even like on the 23rd of February, like Putin, he just declared Lugansk and Donetsk like independent regions, and we just understood that it could not happen like without the invasion, and we understood that, but just we didn't think about the full-scale invasion. So on the 24th of February, we were all shocked completely because, yes, we did think about invasion, but we thought it would be like local one. But actually, when he gave this speech about making independent Lugansk and Donetsk, he just said a lot of things, a lot of like historical things about Ukraine in general, that he doesn't think that this state is sovereign in English. Yeah.
How controlled is your media over there? So over here, we have the impression that it's sort of like North Korea, that everything is run through the state.
Yeah.
But you witness it firsthand. So what impression does your media give? Is it free? Is it open? Or is it as controlled as we think it is?
So like all the TV channels we have in Russia, they're owned by government, absolutely all of them. And so before the invasion, we had several independent media who weren't controlled by government, but they were all declared foreign agents, and they did face a lot of difficulties. For example, we had Media Zone, which was founded by Pussy Riot members. We also had Medusa. We had Russian departments of international media, for example, BBC or like Dutch Valley, but right now they're all blocked, and they've been blocked in several days after the invasion, because they said that they were spreading fakes about what's happening there in Ukraine, and right now we really don't have independent media anymore, and it feels awkward because we've been living in an authoritarian regime for decades, and we did have several independent media, because they left them. They didn't block them because they would say we are democratic, see, we have several media pro-democracy media. So yeah, and right now they just don't do this anymore. They just reveal their real face, and it's not authoritarian regime anymore, and it's complete censorship and complete dictatorship. And if the media, even small ones, they just keep spreading fake news about Ukraine, just actually telling the truth, they are being blocked. And a lot of police, when they come to departments of this media, all throughout Russia, it doesn't matter which region, Moscow or some distant regions. So yeah, it's very difficult right now to get information, especially right now, because they blocked Twitter, they blocked Facebook, and they blocked Instagram, and those were the sources where really got all the information. Right now we are trying to use VPN, but they also blocking VPN services, and it feels so surreal, because I remember myself going to China when I was a child, and so I couldn't use their Instagram or something like that, and I was so shocked. I didn't understand why. And right now it happens here in Russia, in my home country, and it just I can't even digest it and process what's going on right now.
It must feel just completely odd, like you're in some sci-fi film, a complete dictatorship. What are your views? I know it is hard. It's very hard, and you're very brave to speak out. What are your views about Putin?
Yes, the only view I have about Putin is that he is just insane. He is an insane old man, and like people from all over the world, they just keep telling us like, you chose him, and right now he's like killing, not only he's like disturbing like Russian people, and also like we had this invasion in January like in Kazakhstan, and right now it is like about Ukraine, and also he helped like to combat protests, like peaceful protesters in Belarus several years ago. But actually we didn't choose him. Like, I don't know people who chose him really. So people don't understand how it's like to live in an authoritarian regime, because we do not have proper elections. And of course we just didn't choose him. And like everything he does right now, it is absolutely insane. And I understood like from the very beginning, because like Putin, he is from KGB, and it is really disturbing when you have like someone from KGB as your like president, and president of like huge country as Russia, like huge history, huge culture. He just doesn't understand anything about this country. He is not Russia at all. At all. He does not understand this country, and he is absolutely not like president of Russia, because Russia is about something else. It's not about like KGB, like police and everything that's Putin wants here, like to be Russia, what to be. And I believe that like my friends who are like also activists and me, we will be here, and we will fight for our country like till the end, because right now like people are saying like obviously like Putin occupies like Ukraine, but also Putin occupies Russia as well.
Yeah, so you see him as a sort of forcing himself upon the Russian people. Do you believe that the elections are fair, or do you think that they're rigged? There are reports of electoral fraud rampant in Russia, but you know, you're saying to me now that you don't feel that Russians feel that they have voted for him. So yeah, just tell me about that.
Yeah, so election fraud is huge in Russia, especially this year. So I worked like for the pro-democracy candidate, because we had this State Duma elections this September, and so I was in these elections for our State Duma, and it was absolutely awful, because yeah, fraud is just ubiquitous, even like in Moscow, where like a lot of journalists, a lot of just like human rights defendants, etc., but still it's absolutely awful. And in some like regions, for example, as like Chechnya, like the percent of Putin or some like candidates from Putin's party is like 99%, which is absolutely just insane. Yes. And this September, we also had like, and you think about elections, we had like electronic form of elections, and it was just all faked. So like, for example, in Moscow, like we had, so here we have like 12 or like 13 kind of like regions in Moscow districts, and in all of those like 13 districts, no like candidate from Putin's party won. Like we absolutely had all like opposition people there, they all won. But we did not count they like the result from like this electronic form of elections. And when we counted them, like in every like district, like they were all like just candidates from Putin's party. So they just mocked all of that with this electronic form of election. They just saw like the results of like just obvious like ordinary like form of elections, like ballots and all of that, and they calculated like how much do they need like to fake all of that, and they just faked it with this form, and it's been just awful, absolutely. And yeah, like people, they I would say that the majority of people, they don't want Putin to be here, to be our president, but there is a fraction of people who wants that, but it's not because they really like believe in Putin, but because we live in an authoritarian regime. And as I've said already, we don't have like independent media, and what's told on like in the news, it is not reality. And they're like on TV channels, Putin is a hero, is doing like everything for children, like cats and flowers, etc. And people, they just see it and they're like, yes, that's our president. But if you start to talk with them and you start to dismantle all of that propaganda, they become like shocked. And so that's the thing we're trying to do. Like here in Russia, we try to, like with these political campaigns, we try to like persuade people and open their eyes, but we face a lot of difficulties, and people like us who are doing this, they're right now, like Alexei Navalny, imprisoned, or they're like forced to leave Russia. So yeah, it's difficult.
I suppose it's, in a sense, it's reminiscent of Adolf Hitler in a way. I know that's quite a drastic comparison, but he used propaganda to cultivate his image and make the public think that he was some godly figure, you know, some hero, when he was the exact opposite. It's very, very scary. And you and your husband obviously got married. It was on Invasion Day, wasn't it? The day that Russia invaded Ukraine. So firstly, congratulations, of course. But did you not have mixed feelings at on that day?
So it was a very strange day because so we did expect like invasion or something like that, but we didn't expect it on the 24th of February. And so when I woke up on that day, I didn't think about like Ukraine or something like that. I wanted to go like to make my hair done and make my makeup done because I had my wedding day. Yes, and so I was lucky. I was like feeling very happy. But Diana just grabbed my phone and I started like to scroll like the news on Telegram and Instagram, and I saw like that Putin like in 5 a.m. he like started like a war in Ukraine, and I just couldn't like process it, and I couldn't believe in it. And then I saw like all the videos and photos from Ukraine that we were like bombing Kiev, like not Donetsk, Lugansk, like all these actions, they were happening like throughout Ukraine, even like in distant regions. And I was so shocked because I have friends there in Ukraine, and I just started like to text them, and I don't know, I was petrified. And so I like said to Arshak, he was sleeping. I said, like, wake up, like there is war like in Ukraine. He was also shocked. I started to cry, and I was sick that morning. I was just absolutely shocked, and it felt like so surreal because I really needed like to go there, like to make my hair and make my makeup, but I just couldn't. I was crying like all the morning, and I was feeling like I was crazy because I was like strolling down like in Moscow down the streets, and people, they were like just having like their ordinary life. They were like having breakfast and just, I don't know, walking there with their dogs and cats. And I wanted to scream. I wanted to, I don't know, cry. I wanted to say something like to them, that like war is happening. It's so unhumane, and all of that, like peaceful life, what is like going on here right now, it's absolutely crazy. And so my makeup artist, she couldn't like do this makeup because I was crying like every time. And so we were like thinking of canceling our wedding because we didn't feel like celebrating and stuff. But actually, we thought that it would be more logical because when you're like activist in Russia, you're a couple and you don't have legal status, it's kind of dangerous, because if you're married, you have this like right not to testify against your like husband or wife, and you can meet like him or her like in prison or like in hospital. And actually it's super actual because so we are like protesting actively. And so even like actually on the day after that, on the 25th of February, I was detained when I was leaving my house. So yeah, or like several days ago, I was just strolling down Moscow, and some policemen, they were like filming a video like on me on their iPhones. Yeah, so yes, and there is like a very suspicious car which is standing near our house on a daily basis. So yeah, it's like super actual.
And since then, you've been doing a lot of protesting. You've got yourself into the media, into newspapers. You've been doing great work in getting the message out there to show people that obviously the majority of Russians do oppose, are anti-war. They are against this. But what do you face? So we know that they're strict. It's a very strict regime. You're putting yourself at risk. What could happen to you? Have you been arrested before? And do you worry that you're going to end up in prison?
Yeah, so I was arrested even like before the invasion because I was engaging in activism. I had this so I was making like a peaceful action when I was placing posters on the police departments, like with the names of repressed activists on the police departments where these activists were repressed, and it was like a super peaceful action, and I was detained while this action, but they just gave me like a small fine and said everything would be okay. But the next day I was in my home and I was just dancing, listening to music, and some moment I just heard like knocking on my door, and so I went there like to see what was happening, and there were like dozens of policemen. They were trying to break my door. They were screaming, and it was absolutely awful. And I called my lawyer, and like she came, and she said that they were like holding a siege near my apartment, and they wouldn't go away. And I need to to open the door and go with them, and they will give me like several trumped up misdemeanors, or I can just stay at home like for, I don't know, because they said that they would stay there like they would have several shifts, and they would stay there like for days, for weeks, for months. It didn't matter. So yeah, and it was awful, and I wasn't pleased with either options, and I just contacted my boyfriend, and he just kidnapped me out of that house. It was awful. I was kind of compelled to change my place of living after that, and so like one week after that they tracked me somehow, and so I was just in the center of Moscow heading to have a cup of tea, and they just kidnapped me there. Like several policemen, they weren't like in the uniform. They were just some random man, and they took me like to the police department, one of the like distant police departments we had in Moscow, and it was a very like awful experience. And I had a night in this like cell there police department, and then I had like a trial. Yeah, so I had this.
It's so scary. We just can't. In this country, we sometimes moan that the police every now and then might get a bit rough or think. We just can't imagine. But it sounds to me like the Gestapo. From Nazi Germany. Just so. Do you see much police violence and brutality?
Yes, actually, like in some from some point perhaps I'm lucky because I'm a girl, and they just I have like a more milder like experience with them, because they didn't beat me, for example, because I know that they beat a lot of people like in police departments. Even in Moscow we have many cases of like torture practices, like even in police departments, even like casual like detainments, not even arrests. So you're like detained for several hours and you get tortured there. But I've been detained like several times. So on the 25th of February, I was planning to like make an action. I was covered with artificial blood, and I was wearing the uniform.
I saw the pictures. Yeah, it's quite powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was wearing like uniform, this Russian military, and I was living in my home like with journalists, with my husband, just a random man. And so they detained like all of us there, even like random man who wasn't connected to me or like to this action. He was just leaving this house. They also detained him. So yeah, they took us all to the police department, and they kept it there like for more than 3 hours, which is illegal here in Russia, because you can only keep people like for 3 hours if it is not an arrest. And they kept us for 5 hours or so, and they didn't allow me even like to use the restroom like for all this time. And They didn't also like allow me to drink water, and just some point I asked for water, just for a bottle of water, one of the policemen, and he said no, that he couldn't give it to me. And so he was like sitting at the table, and there was like a huge Coke just standing like next to him, and I said, so you have this Coke, why wouldn't you like give it to me, because I'm really thirsty, so we've been here like for 5 hours. And he said that he couldn't give it to me because he bought it with his money. So yeah, and yeah, we stayed there. But it's just, actually it's like a mild peaceful experience, because after these anti-war protests, after the 6th of March, we had like here huge protests across Russia. Like thousands and thousands of people, they were detained, and I would say that dozens of them, they got tortured. For example, we had this scandal in Moscow when a girl, Sasha Kalushkih, she was tortured in Bratislava police department. They threatened her like to rape her, and those were like the policemen, and she was like 26 years, she is 26 years old. She's an activist, she's just a young lady who was protesting against the war. And so they were like beating her, they were like threatening to just to kill her or something like that, and they said, we will kill you because Putin is with us, and we will get bonuses for that if we do something with you.
Заходите.
Где по факту проживаете?
Рассказывать типа, ну,
Понятно. Ладно. Номер телефона для того, чтобы вам позвонили, вызвали в суд. Только здесь в Москве не фотографируйте.
Нет, хочу, чтобы мне почтой повестку прислали.
А куда?
По регистрации.
Так. Место учебы.
Сейчас будет он что сильнее решать. Давай, вставай, вспоминай. Ага.
Ого.
Да.
Ого.
Да.
Ебать нахуй. Ну, не так сильно понимать, если честно.
Ну, мы продолжаем? Или 51-е?
Девушки, там нормально такое смотреть, да?
Нормально.
Мы такого ненормально
Ты
смотрим.
посмотри, у тебя, блядь, сиськи нахуй, вымя висит нахуй. Ты на себя посмотри, блядь. Обезьяна нахуй.
Место учебы.
Я продолжу.
Место работы либо учебы. Вы работаете?
Ответь на элементарные вопросы и гуляй. Вот мой телефон твой, сейчас скажешь телефон, тебе повестку, еще позвонят тебе. Помощник судьи тебе позвонит. Продолжаем в том же духе. Да или нет?
Ну, я ответила уже.
Тогда, знаешь, какую цель ты преследуешь в своих вот, ну, мы добьемся это, мы здесь уже, ну, блядь, уже все здесь были, все лежали. Цель твоя какая? Я тебе говорю, я только, блядь, вот так вот сейчас буду все расти в геометрической прогрессии. Нам до безды. Мы тебе будем...
Угрожаете?
Да, я тебе угрожаю. Я тебе угрожаю физической расправой.
Я неловко. Как-то.
Сколько полных лет вам?
26.
Рост какой примерно?
Честно, не знаю.
Встань.
Место работы.
Метр 78 или меньше.
Вы работаете?
Официально ты уже устроена?
Я отказываюсь отвечать.
Откуда узнала о проведении митинга?
Раз один хуярь, конечно.
Ой, господи.
Откуда узнали о проведении митинга?
Я не знаю.
Что?
51. Слушайте, знаете, что неловко? То, что у меня лифчика нет, но вы так не смотрите, пожалуйста.
Ну, я не буду смотреть, там, блядь.
Ой, ну спасибо. Так, ударить по голове, по лицу бутылкой с водой. Ой,
Ну,
ой.
она, мне кажется, кайфует от того, что пиздим ее.
Ты посмотри на него.
Ну да, это чмо, блядь. Оригинал-то нахуй.
Мне
Чё,
тоже.
Кик, ты уж там чуть лучше за это, нам, блядь, нахуй Путин сказал, ебашить нахуй. долбоебов. Все, Путин на нашей стороне. Вы враги России, вы враги народа. Нахуй. Сейчас заебашим сейчас тебя нахуй здесь и все. Дело в шляпе. Еще премию за это получишь. Светлокарий.
Я отказываюсь в соответствии с первой статьей Конституции.
Сейчас допрос не ведет, сейчас идет анкетная часть.
Ну, я уже сказала.
Ну а что так?
Если больно.
Больно, больно. Ну она не мылась неделю. Они все такие, ты на них на всех посмотри.
Да мы здесь уже больше 3 суток,
Здесь суток, блядь, ёпта. Да. Мы здесь больше суток, нахуй, похую. Есть, блядь, какие-то...
Откуда узнали о проведении?
Любовь к себе должна быть какая-то.
Ой, отказываюсь отвечать.
Я ради чего?
51.
Я тоже не знаю. Ебанутые вы. Вы ебанутые.
Меня мужчина при вас избивает, и я ебанутая, да?
Да, да.
Я
Это
понимаю.
надо лепешку сюда было, блядь.
Да, пальцы еще.
Вы, блядь, живете в этой стране, идете, блядь.
А?
Вы сейчас говорите про то, чтобы током меня не
Да.
А придется 220 не позже.
Остановись, сейчас ты девочек сфотографируют.
Нет, я отказываюсь.
Нет, это придется.
Нет, это не касается.
Давай, давай, давай.
Меня, давайте.
Вставай. Иди вставай вот туда.
Я не буду вставать туда.
Девять.
Я отказываюсь от фотографирования. Я подпишу вам отказ от фотографирования.
Идите в эту.
Все, телефона у тебя нет больше, все. Телефон все. Полетал немного. Он стал футбольным мячиком.
Да тут он,
Что, зачем тебе больше не нужен? Ну что он помнит? Ты же не стал
Вы не
мне.
составите протокол об изъятии просто?
Зачем мне он нужен? Протокол воздействия.
Снимали мне экран сейчас.
Получилось так случайно.
Случайно упал, да?
Вот ты заходил, скользнулся, наступил на него.
Ключ у меня 3 свидетеля.
Своим ценником.
Дай тебе.
Ой, вы даже не разбили, спасибо.
Кстати.
Я...
Наверное.
Яковлев.
That's disgraceful. Are you not
that-
worried? Are you not frightened at all that that could happen to you? You know that it's quite a traumatic. I know. I completely think it's brilliant what you're doing, but surely you must be afraid to some extent.
I am. Of course I am. If I wouldn't be afraid, perhaps I would be a crazy human being. Yes, I'm afraid, but it doesn't mean that I want to continue my activism, because I'm absolutely sure that what I'm doing, that is like the right thing. And right now I witness how like other activists, they're like fleeing Russia, or they're like so scared that they don't engage in activism anymore. Or like some of them, they just got discouraged by Russian people like as a nation, because they just don't understand that people here, like a lot of them, they are just brainwashed by propaganda. That's why they do not take action. Others, they are just so frightened to death, and I can completely understand them, because I've gone like through this. For example, like I know a lot of people, a lot of activists who well, actually were like smaller, like they're less popular perhaps than me, and they've done less than me, and they had like searchers in the apartment, and police like they confiscated like laptops and tablets and iPhones, and they destroyed like the whole apartment. and it is so very scary. And people right now, they get like criminal cases, they get like multiple misdemeanors and arrests, and so it is like very scary. And that's why I understand people, and I do not get discouraged that some people do not like take action, because I understand like the whole situation. And while I understand it and I'm afraid to some extent, I still feel that it is just my moral kind of obligation to speak up right now, and to take action, because I cannot, I don't know, if not activism, what I can do right now. I can imagine myself right now like eating somewhere in cafe, posting like something on Instagram. We don't have Instagram actually. Yeah, so
It's
yeah.
not normal, is it?
Yeah.
No more selfies or anything like that. I agree with you. It must feel very strange, like you mentioned on your wedding day, something that makes me think. It must be strange to watch people carry on as normal, walking outside as if nothing's happening, when actually this is huge. You know, people are dying on the streets of Ukraine. What do your family and friends think about what you're doing? Do they support you, or do some oppose what you're doing?
Yeah, of course, like the majority of all my friends and acquaintances and relatives, they support what I'm doing, but they're also like very scared because also I can get imprisoned, and it's like absolutely like real opportunity, because there's also like this new law. If you like spread the fakes, you can be imprisoned for 15 years in Russia. And I spread a lot of fakes because obviously I have like my social media, and I wanted to like spread the truth. I posted a lot of videos from like Ukraine, like photos, and we have some audio like from like Russian soldiers, what they were saying about what's happening in Ukraine. And I know that was like real footage and like real photos. It was all, yeah. But they can consider like it as fakes. And so this like possibility to be imprisoned, it is tangible. And that's why like a lot of my friends, they just say, please, Paulina, like be quiet, please don't do this, please do not speak about this, it's so very dangerous. And I can understand them. Some of my friends, they even they actually not my friends anymore, because they were like so scared that they couldn't continue our interaction, because they were scared that they would get imprisoned or something like that. So that's the level like of fear here. Like a lot of my friends, they said like, Paulina, I actually like canceled our friendship on VK and on Facebook, because I'm afraid that they like policemen will like search your friend lists and they find me and something like that. Yes, but I understand them, of course. But yeah, of course, a lot, like the majority of them, they're against this war, but they cannot speak up because of this penetrating fear.
Yeah, it must be such a strange situation. Do you think that Putin is going to stop at Ukraine, or do you think that the Russian regime is going to carry on and potentially, you know, is this just the beginning of something a lot bigger?
It is a very hard question, and so like the real like what's it is very hard to say what will happen like to Russia, what will happen to this regime, and like to Putin, what will happen like with war. But the answer, it is not here in Russia, it is now completely in Ukraine, what's happening there. And what we see right now is that Putin, for some reason, he didn't send professional soldiers, professional servicemen to Ukraine. He sent some young boys, even younger than my husband, like 20 years old, 21 years old, who didn't even know that they were going to Ukraine.
Yeah.
They didn't know it. They also sent Rosgvardia and OMON. Those are police forces that combat peaceful protesters here in Moscow, that beat my friends. And they were going there, like to Kyiv and to other Ukrainian cities. They also sent Kadyrov, like from Chechnya, and his army, who never actually took part in any operations and wars, and so they do not have like the proper experience for that, the appropriate experience. And what we see right now is that people are dying, like from like Russian soldiers, they are dying because they weren't like told what to do, and it's happening like right now, and they don't have like the proper communication there in Ukraine, like our army, because it's what happens if you're a liar, and if you lie all the time. They didn't say like they didn't, I don't know, prepare them like tentatively what happens like in normal, I would say, like normally, ordinarily, if you're planning like a special operation, special military operation somewhere. And so because of that, we like see this side, and like where Russian soldiers, they do not understand why they need to fight there in Ukraine. Really, we see like all these videos like from them, what they're saying when they and they just don't understand like the whole reason for that, so it cannot be just justified in their heads. But on the other side, there is Ukrainian army, and they're fighting for their country. They're like combating some people who just invaded their country, their home country, and they have like a very clear reason to just fight for their relatives, for their children, for their mothers and fathers, and that's really encouraging for them. And that's why we see the situation where like more than 2 weeks passed, and Russian like soldiers, they do not have success there. They only have like one major city, which is Kherson, because this whole thing is just absolutely insane. And even like our soldiers, a lot of them, they continue to like be there in Ukraine and to fight only because they're afraid to be killed. They're afraid to return here and be in prison till the end of their lives. So this situation is very strange, and I would say that Putin, he has like very long distances between like between him and all other like ministers, etc. And I would say that perhaps right now he does not understand what is happening there in Ukraine fully. But once he like gets all the information, I don't know what he will do. But for example, several days ago, we know that he fired like one of the like very huge like persons in our special services in FSB. And they were like actually responsible for what was happening there like in Ukraine, so they were like acting there like special services there. So perhaps it's something, perhaps right now he gets like the real information what's happening there, because I'm absolutely sure that if you build this whole like hierarchy which is completely built like on fear and on lies, Putin right now, because of that, he gets information that our operation is super successful, Mr. Putin. We have like this data and this data, but it is not.
Tell him the truth, aren't they? We're going back to typical dictators: Hitler, Mussolini, all of the dictators through history. Their generals are always afraid of telling the truth, because a lot of the time the leader doesn't want to hear the truth. He doesn't want to know that he's failing, or that his grand plan isn't this ideal, it isn't ideal, and it isn't actually working at all. It's worrying. But we're seeing a hell of a lot of, you must have seen it as well, pro-Putin propaganda on, I know that you can't get on Twitter and Instagram but as much now, but you have been in the past. We're seeing fake news being peddled from the Kremlin daily, and worryingly, a lot of people, including some Brits, Americans, etc., who are conspiracy theorists, they're spreading it, and it's all anti-Ukraine, Ukrainians are Nazis, blah blah blah, pushing Putin's narrative. What do you think that platforms like Twitter need to do to crack down on this and to act responsible?
Yeah, so actually, yeah, there are like a lot of fake news. There are like Russian propaganda on our TV channels, and I would say that we really need to. So I've already seen like some people who are like investigating this like footages, and I've already seen like actual on Twitter that people are posting about like this soldiers who were like on the Zmini island, and there was like a man, Russian soldier. Yes, a Russian soldier, like we saw his face, and they showed their name, like, and it was on our TV channels. And then they had like another footage and another story, and it was somewhere like in Mariupol, in Ukraine, and we saw this man with this face, but it was like completely other soldier, and he had like another name. So we really need to like just search for this like comparatives, compare like these footages and reveal that. Perhaps we have like Navalny and his team, and they're now like out of Russia, and they're like they have like investigative journalists there, and I saw like they posted something about this, and I would just say that we need like a team like that who would just dismantle all of this, and they would go like through Russian fake news and post about this and say that you see this and you see this, so yeah, it's completely fake. So they would give some like arguments or something like that. It's really important because it is like informational war is happening like right now, and in Russia it is huge. I would say a lot of people they believe on what's like Putin saying, what's like TV channels saying, because and you know, they're like more prone like to express their like political position, like firstly because they're not getting punished for that, because if a political position coincides with like the government's agenda, then okay, of course, yeah, if you're pro-war, then yeah, go and protest. But also I would say, yeah, I forgot. I forgot my point.
No, you're all right. I've been asking you loads of questions, and you're answering them amazingly. There was another thing as well I was going to ask you. Obviously, we've sanctioned Russia. The EU has sanctioned Russia. Is that having an impact on everyday Russian citizens, or do you think that we need to do more? Are we not doing enough?
Yeah, so
you can say anything you like. Don't worry. Our prime minister isn't going to arrest you or anything like that.
Yes, yes. So actual sanctions are huge. And so like right now, we like see the outcome, we see like the effect of that, especially we like people from major cities like Moscow and St. Petersburg, because we see like how brands are just leaving our country, our cities. For example, if you're like a Muscovite and you're like really get used to go to this shopping mall, and then you go like to McDonald's and you pay there with Apple Pay, and you use like City Mobile or Uber there, so you actually cannot do all of this right now, because I visited like our shopping malls, and it is a really sad picture. And right now I feel uncomfortable because I cannot live like I lived like before the 24th February. And that's like the whole point, because right now I like see how people who actually supported like war and ideology before after that, because our ideology, it is like yeah, it was the point I forgot actually. Yeah, it's all like interconnected. That like people who like support that war, they're like more prone to protest, because this propaganda, they use like morals to justify all that we are like saving Russians there, that Ukrainians are like Nazi, and so we are like the country like whose identity is like the that we won the Second World War, that we like combated Nazis, and we like, yeah, so we were like fighting for our country. And when people like they hear like this word Nazi, and that we're like again combating them, and that these Nazis, they wanted to actually to fight Russia, they wanted to destroy Russia, and that we are actually doing the right thing. That is why they're like more prone to express the positions, because it's like Nazi, like your country, like patriotism, you know, these words, they're just trigger words. And like people, these people who are like pro-war right now, they're like triggered because it's how like propaganda is built, and they really want this. They are working especially for that, to like mobilize these people.
What message would you give to the people of Ukraine? So if you could speak to them right now, what would you say as a Russian citizen living in Russia right now?
That right now here in Russia, we really try to protest against this war. And I know that like on some TV channels and media, you can see that there are not like too many Russians on the streets. And so you can think that we like Russians, we actually like support this war, and that's why we don't go to the streets. But it is absolutely not true. Like, I am sure that the majority of Russians, they do not support this war, absolutely. And they do not support this government, they do not support this president, but at the same time, they are frightened to death to protest. And even with that, they are trying to protest on their social media. They are trying to protest when they are talking to their relatives, to their like mothers and fathers who are like pro-war, who are brainwashed by propaganda. And people are really trying to express their political position, how they can do it, because if you express your position right now in Russia, you can be beaten, you can be imprisoned, you can be fired. And those are very tangible things. Those are not just words I'm seeing right now. When you live in here, it is really a huge possibility. And really, there is this penetrating fear in all of us. And that's why people, they even don't understand how they can go to the streets, because they're even afraid to talk sometimes about Putin on their kitchens. So for them, it's just an impossible way of protesting. But still, there are thousands of people who are protesting, absolutely brave people who are protesting on the streets. And so we have more than 13,000 detentions right now for our anti-war protests, and it's an absolute record. If you go right now, if you're like stroll down Moscow or like St. Petersburg, I know that on every street I see like no to war phrases. They're everywhere, absolutely. People are trying to use these guerrilla tactics because it's the way you can you have this possibility not to be arrested, not to be imprisoned. So people just try these options of activism. People are trying to protest as hard as they can, and we feel this blame. We feel that we are responsible for what is happening in Ukraine. But yeah, we are just trying as hard as we can.
And what are your plans? Final question. What are your plans moving forward?
Yeah, so as an activist, I have like a lot of tools how to protest against this war, and I would just say that I would try to use all of them, because I just feel that this is my responsibility right now. But of course, I cannot talk about these tools right now because it's kind of not safe.
Yes. We don't want to give the game away and have the police knock on the door again. That's fine. We'll listen. We'll leave it there. And I really honestly appreciate your time. I think you're brilliant and very brave. And I wish you all the best. Please be safe. But I agree, you know, that sometimes you've just got to do the right thing, haven't you, no matter what the consequences are. But I'll keep in touch with you over the coming weeks, and we'll have another a catch up in say a couple of weeks, see how you're getting on.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks so much. Take care.
Bye.